The evening air was crisp, the soft hum of laughter and conversation drifting across the grand ballroom. As you stepped into the luxurious venue, arm in arm with your husband Jungkook, his usual cold aura was in place, but as you walked through the crowd, the two of you looked like the perfect power couple, graceful, elegant, and untouchable. Jungkook's tailored suit fit him like it was made for him, every inch of him exuding a quiet confidence. You, on the other hand, wore a dress that he had picked out for you, a deep emerald green, one that your makeup was simple, but as always, the one thing you never forget was a bold red lipstick. It was your favorite color, something that made you feel confident no matter what. The party was buzzing, a mix of important clients, friends, and socialities. Jungkook didn't care for these events much, but as his wife, you had learned to attend with him, always by his side, smiling and making small talk while he handled his business. Tonight, however, you were determined to enjoy yourself, maybe even flirt with the idea of taking Jungkook's attention away from his work for once. He approached a group of people where Jungkook greeted his longtime friend Jimin. The two of them exchanged a handshake and then Jimin turned to you with his signature playful smile. Well, look who is finally here. Jimin teased, his eyes twinkling as he took in your appearance. Jungkook, she is even more stunning tonight. What are you doing with a beauty like her? Jungkook's lip curled up slightly, a nonchalant response already on the edge of his tongue. He wasn't the type to show much emotion in front of others, but when it came to Jimin, there was always an unspoken camaraderie. I'm just lucky, I guess, Jungkook replied, though his voice was tinged with something subtle, a hint of pride, but also something else that felt distant. Jimin laughed, then pulled out a sleek black bottle from his coat pocket. A gift for you, my friend, Jimin said, handing it over to Jungkook. Paris whiskey. I know how much you love it. Jungkook took the bottle without missing a beat, his sharp eyes scanning Jimin's face. Thanks, Jimin, he said coolly, placing the gift aside on the nearby table. Jimin turned his attention to you, then his grin widening. He reached into his other pocket and pulled out a small, delicate box wrapped in elegant gold paper. For you, wine, he said, holding it out with a flourish. I knew you had loved this. Jimin raised an eyebrow, surprised. Jimin, you didn't have to, you said, taking the box from his hands. Opening it carefully, you saw a sleek tube of lipstick nestled inside, the familiar logo of a popular Persian brand glinting under the party lights. Your heart skipped a beat. It was the shade you had been eyeing for weeks, the bold red that always made you feel like wanted. Wow, you whispered, unable to hide your excitement. This is gorgeous. I love this color. It's my favorite. Jimin grinned, leaning in a little closer, his voice dropping a little lower as if he were letting. I know your taste better than your husband does, man, he teased, his words light but carrying an edge of playful mischief. The moment hung in the air for a fraction of a second. You noticed the slight shift in Jungkook's posture, his shoulders tightened, and his gaze flickered to Jimin before returning to you. His usual poker face, the one that never gave away anything, had an almost imperceptible crack. It was there and gone in the blink of eye. Jimin, completely unaware of the storm that was brewing, laughed. See, I know what she likes more than you, Jungkook. But you were caught in your own confusion, unsure of how to react to Jungkook's subtle but noticeable shift. Jimin had always been friendly and teasing with you, nothing more, and you had never seen him do anything to make Jungkook jealous. It was strange, almost out of place, especially since Jungkook had always been the indifferent, aloof CEO you knew so well. Your eyes met Jungkook's, and for the first time that night, you saw something raw in his gaze. It wasn't just the usual cold indifference. It was something more complicated, something that made you question everything you thought you knew about him. Was he jealous? The realization hit you like a wave, but you didn't have time to process it before Jimin's voice cut through the silence. You two look perfect tonight. How is the marriage going, by the way? Jimin asked casually, clearly oblivious to the tension simmering just beneath the surface. You tried to act as if nothing was different. It's great, you said, offering a bright smile. But inside a storm was brewing. What was happening with Jungkook? As the party continued around you, laughter and music blending into the background, you couldn't help but wonder, why was Jungkook jealous, and more importantly, why did it suddenly feel like this evening was more than just a normal night out? You looked at him again. Jungkook's icy demeanor hadn't fully returned, but the edge of something unspoken lingered in his eyes. The rest of the party faded into the background as your mind spun with questions, and a teeny part of you was both confused and intrigued by the jealousy flickering in your husband's gaze. Later, the ride home was quiet. The faint hum of the car engine filled the space between you and Jungkook, but the tension was palpable. Neither of you said a word as the city lights blurred past, casting fleeting shadows across his face. You couldn't help but glance at him every few moments, wondering what was going on. His earlier reaction at the party, something you had never seen before, lingered in your mind like a puzzle you couldn't solve. When you arrived home, Jungkook stepped out of the car with his usual controlled demeanor, but there was a coolness about him that made your stomach tighten. You followed him into the foyer, and as you slipped off your shoes, you couldn't help but ask, trying to break the silence. So the party was fine, right? You asked, trying to sound casual, as if nothing was amiss. Jungkook didn't even look at you as he replied, his voice low and detached. Fine. You bit your lip, trying to make sense of it all, but he was already walking towards the staircase, heading straight for the bedroom. You watched him, confused and a little hurt. What happened? Why was he acting so distant? It was like the man you knew, the one who would hold your hand and smile at you across the room, had disappeared, replaced by someone who was closed off and detached. You made your way upstairs. Few minutes later, unsure of what to do, you changed into the soft silk nightdress that Jungkook always liked to see you in after a long night. It was the kind of dress that made you feel both comfortable at once. He would complimented you on many times before. You knew he loved it. He always wanted you in it after a party. It was almost a tradition between the two of you, a signal that night had ended, and it was time for the two of you to connect in a more way. But tonight felt different. When you entered the bedroom, you found him sitting on the edge of the bed, his back turned to you as he pulled off his dress shirt. You could see the tightness in his shoulders and the way his movements lacked their usual fluidity. It was almost like he didn't want to be here with you, and it sent a wave of uncertainty through your chest. I'm already tired, he muttered without turning around, his voice flat. I'm just going to sleep. You froze, a strange feeling creeping over you. This wasn't like him at all. Jungkook was never the type to shut you out, especially not after a night like this. You tried to keep your voice steady, though you couldn't quite hide the disappointment in it. Jungkook, you started taking a step forward the bed. Is everything okay? You have been acting weird since we left the party. He didn't answer at first, then finally, after what felt like an eternity, he spoke. I'm just sleepy. One, please, let me sleep. His words hit you like a cold wave, and your heart sank. You stood there for a moment, watching him turn his back to you, his body stiff as he lay down, facing away from you. It wasn't the tiredness that hurt, it was the distance, the space he was pulling between you both. The coldness that you couldn't understand. You had no idea why he was shutting you out, and it was starting to sting more than you cared to admit. You lay in bed beside him, trying to make sense of the silence that enveloped you. His deep rhythmic breathing told you that he was already drifting off to sleep. But you couldn't close your eyes. You were left alone, in the dark, trying to figure out what had gone wrong. Why wasn't he touching you night? You wanted to reach out, pull him close, but something in your gut told you he wasn't ready for that tonight. And so you lay in there, quiet, the coldness of his back pressing against you, feeling more alone than you had in a long time. The morning light filtered through the curtains, painting soft golden lines across the living room. You rubbed your sleepy eyes and looked at the clock on the wall. Barely 8 a.m. It was the weekend, which usually meant late breakfast, quiet music, and time with Jungkook, but today was different. There he was sitting on the couch in his crisp white shirt, laptop open, typing away with the same focused expression he wore on weekdays. His brows were furrowed, his fingers moving fast, eyes glued to the screen as if the world around him didn't exist. You leaned against the door frame for a moment, watching him. "Good morning," you said softly, walking towards him. He looked up briefly, his tone flat but polite. "Morning." You frowned. "You're working?" "It's Saturday, Jungkook." "Yeah," he said, eyes still on the laptop. "Just a few emails, some things can't wait." You crossed your arms. "But you never work on weekends." "I do, when I have to." That was all he said before returning to his screen. The words stung a little. Normally weekends were scared for him. He always told you that work could wait, but you couldn't. Now he was acting like those words had never been said. You sat beside him quietly, unsure what to say. His focus never wavered. He didn't even glance your way. You sat picking up your purse from the couch, the one you had thrown there last night after coming home from the party. You opened it looking for your lip balm, but you had brushed against a familiar small box, the one Jimin had given you. You pulled it out and looked at the shiny lipstick case. It caught the sunlight beautifully. For a second you smiled at how perfect the color was. But when you glanced at Jungkook, you noticed something. His tapping had stopped, his jaw tightened slightly. His eyes flicked to the lipstick, then quickly back to the laptop, pretending he hadn't seen it. That teeny reaction told you everything. You felt a smile tug at your lips, so that's what this is about. He wasn't just tired, he was jealous, and if Jungkook was jealous, it meant he cared more than he was willing to admit. You decided to use that to your advantage. Without saying a word, you stood up and walked upstairs. You heard him exhale softly, probably assuming you would given up trying to talk to him, but you weren't giving up. You took a quick shower, dried your hair, and changed into a light dress he had once said made you look dangerous without even trying. It wasn't overly fancy, just enough to make him look twice. Then you grabbed the lipstick from the purse and smiled at your reflection. "This should work," you whispered to yourself. Back downstairs, Jungkook was still working, though his concentration seemed thinner now. You sat beside him on the couch again, crossing your legs casually, making sure the faint scent of your perfume drifted his way. You opened your small makeup mirror and started applying the lipstick. the very same one Jimin had given you. You could feel the Jungkook's gaze flickering towards you, even though he tried to look busy. You spoke softly, almost to yourself, but loud enough for him to hear. Now, what a shade! It looks so nice on my lips. You tilted your head, admiring your reflection, giving him a small, satisfied smile. Then you smushed your lips together slowly, making sure the sound and emotion drew his attention. Jungkook's typing slowed, then stopped completely. He continued pretending not to notice. Jimin really picked a perfect color. It's elegant, not too bright, just right. His voice finally broke the silence, low and sharp. Remove it. You blinked innocently. What? He looked at you now, really looked. His expression was calm, but his eyes were dark, restless. That lipstick, wipe it off. Why? You asked, feigning confusion. It's cute, isn't it? Don't you like it? His jaw flexed. I said remove it, Ryan. You smiled lightly and shook your head. No, I think I'll keep it on. You leaned closer to the mirror, applying a second deliberate layer, the red deepening beautifully against your skin. The sound of him closing the laptop echoed in the room. You felt his gaze burning through you as you smudged your lips one last time. Wine, he said again, his voice rougher now. You didn't look up. The next second he was in front of you, his hand raised out, tilting your chin up before you could react. His lips crashed onto yours, firm, deep, and full of unspoken emotion. The kiss wasn't gentle, it was raw, almost desperate, the kind that spoke louder than words ever could. You felt the lipstick smearing between you, the faint taste of it mixing with his breath. His hand holding you still as he pulled you closer, deepening until you could hardly breathe. When he finally pulled away, his thumb brushed your lower lip. There was still a faint trace of red there. His eyes softened for a second before he leaned in again, kissing you once more, slower this time, as if erasing every mark of that lipstick completely. When he pulled back again, his breathing was uneven, yours too, so now it's gone. He murmured, his voice husky but tender. You smiled faintly, your heart racing. You really couldn't stand it, could you? He sighed, looking down for a moment before meeting your eyes. I don't like other men buying lipstick or dresses for my wife, he said quietly. Especially not a man who knows your favorite color. You tilted your head, teasing gently. So you were jealous because of this lipstick? He didn't answer, just gave you that half smirk. The one that always made your heart flutter. Then his tone softened. You are mine, Van. And sometimes I forgot that other people notice you too. You chuckled lightly. You don't need to remind me I'm yours. You just need to show it. And Jimin was just teasing you. You also know that. He looked at you for a long moment, all the coldness from earlier gone, replaced by warmth and something deeper. He reached out and tugged a strand of hair behind your ear, his thumb grazing your cheek. I know, but I love you, he said quietly. It was simple, but it was everything. You smiled and rested your forehead against his. I know, and sometimes I like reminding you too. Then after a while, laptop lay forgotten on the table. The morning sun pouring in through the window, but you both in, and as every Saturday was another, this time you both were sweating. And as his hand found yours, you realized your plan had worked perfectly, not just to make him jealous, but to make him remember what really mattered, you. Thank you for watching.